Hi, cities. How are you doing? Welcome to NIASIM. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. I actually want to talk to my people. And one thing I'm going to say is that I hope you are protecting yourself. And I make sure that you know where your kids are. The ones that are in university, please be very watchful and be very careful. I learned that some schools already closed up. Why? Because they were threatening. Now tell me how MAGAs are going around threatening black HBCUs, and they're telling them to, and some of them closed up. The fact that they could see the video of the suspect, how did they look alike? The suspect video that you are seeing is absolutely white. So what is the problem with them? And the fact that some people are saying that they do not want to hear anything like gun control from Democrats tells you also that these people are not ready to make changes. I am going to say this. You all remember what happened to Melissa, and that we had, so far this year, the mass people that has happened so far, it's absolutely so much. As I speak to you, the same day that man was unalive, there were also mass shooting, but nobody is talking about them. Why? Because one person is more important than any other person. That is to tell you how horrible some politicians are. Now, let me tell you something. I never knew this man died. He is 31 years, but that is to tell you how wickedness can age somebody. Let's get into this video.
Is the issue. Do you see the person, the suspect, the man they are looking for, the man at large? Do you see this man, right? He's obviously white. He's wearing a Patriot shirt. They say that he may be a college student, a white man. I want y'all to stick with me. Now, following Charlie Kirk's unaliving, 3 HBCUs, Alabama State, Hampton University, and Virginia State University have received threats. Threats for what? The suspect in Charlie Kirk's unaliving is going to be a white man. So why are black people being threatened? Because it's all about white supremacy. And no matter what, white people who are racist in this country, who follow Charlie Kirk's rhetoric, believe that black people should not exist. And so instead of turning on their own people, because this was white on white crime, they are directing their anger towards black people. They ain't got shit to do with the situation. I didn't even see a black person in the goddamn crowd. It was Utah. Ain't that like Mormon country or some shit? But no, black people once again, black students once again have to keep their head on the swivel because white racist, Christian, nationalists, KKK members, Nazis are all trying to target them for what? We didn't have shit to do with what happened to Charlie Kirk. It was white on white crime. So why are we being subject to hate? Because no matter what, we will always be the thing white people turn to when it comes to aggression because they can't take it out on their own people. And that is why Charlie Kirk was detrimental to people that look like me. And his rhetoric was detrimental to people who look like me because we're never safe around people who talk like that. This is why we say white.
I never want to be alarmist, but I always want to make you aware that they are already plotting retaliation. They are already plotting retaliation. Mind you, they don't have a suspect. They don't have a motive. They don't have a weapon. They don't have a manifesto. But they are already plotting retaliation. And oftentimes, especially throughout history, that retaliation has fallen upon people of marginalized identities, marginalized communities. I will be speaking specifically for black folks, but a lot of folks from other marginalized identities, they know what's up too. But speaking specifically for my community, we know what moments like this mean. We know the deep history of violence in this country in times of peace. So we know even more when moments like this happen, how folks who have already and always been violent to us in one way or another, through their rhetoric, through stereotypes, through harassment, through physical violence, we know. So I'm telling you, as a person from this community, this is not the time to play games. This is not the time to be willy-nilly and dilly-dally. This is not the time to not have your head on a swivel. This is not the time to not pay attention because there's a whole lot of vigilantes in this country and a whole lot of weapons they can use and not a lot of good sense. So I say this with love, not as an alarmist, but as a person who pays attention to the patterns of history and recognizes the moment that we're in right now. Please be careful. Please be careful. Please be safe. Please be aware. Because like I said, they're already plotting retaliation, and we don't know what form that retaliation is going to come. But as a person who cares a lot about community, I don't want to see anybody hurt in any way. I know that's impossible, but I don't want to see it. I don't want it to happen. So please be careful. Please be safe. And please be aware.
Y'all, the president's rhetoric about the incident that happened in Utah is objectively dangerous. Because instead of getting behind that desk and condemning gun violence, bring up the incidents that happened in Utah and that happened moments later in Colorado of gun violence, instead of addressing that issue or addressing the pursuit of justice and finding the suspects of gun violence, this president of this administration blamed radical left when no one knows who the suspect even is. But in doing this and fanning the flames of division, you are now seeing people with their outrage and resurfacing terms like retaliation and civil war. The rhetoric that that person is using behind the desk in the White House is dangerously irresponsible. It's dangerously irresponsible. And if you haven't been paying attention up to this point, I need you to pay attention now, because the urgency to pin this on the left without any substantiated claim or any suspect in custody, that type of urgency is rooted in a desire for division. The urgency to point the finger to your political opponent and say they did it in an attempt to rile up your base. That is a desire for division. And that, coming from the president of this administration, has immense and dangerous consequences.
Charlie Kirk was shot dead today. Let's take a look at the legacy that he will leave behind. So how about we start with his campaign to dismantle the legacy of the civil rights movement. In a December 2023 speech, Charlie Kirk didn't just critique Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he launched a full-scale character assassination, labeling him as awful and not a good person, claiming he's only admired for saying things he didn't actually believe. Now, he went even further. Kirk called the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964 a huge mistake and argued that it created a permanent DEI type of bureaucracy. Now, he pushed the radical theory as well that the act, in his words, superseded the U.S. Constitution. And then when he was challenged, he doubled down, calling MLK a mythological anti-racist creation, and then bragged about targeting the sacred cow of modern America. On abortion, he publicly celebrated the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And here's what he said when he was asked if he would force his own 10-year-old daughter to carry a pregnancy to term after she was assaulted.
And she was 10 and she got raped. And she was going to give birth and she would, no, wait. Oh, and she was going to give birth and she was going to live. Would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
It's no, but it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Now, on gun violence, he consistently downplayed America's gun violence epidemic.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
On race in Black America, Charlie Kirk supported a ban on DEI, overturning the Civil Rights Act and promoting a whitewash version of history. He supported banning AP African American Studies and even said that when it comes to slavery, there's a lot more to the story. And when it comes to Black professionals, on pilots, he stated, if I see a Black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He also blamed Black people for the air traffic controller crisis. He frequently disparages Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson as a diversity hire and insisted that she was only appointed because she's a Black woman. He denies that systemic racism even exists and supports punitive sentencing, and then referred to George Floyd as a scumbag. He even led the efforts to pardon Derek Chauvin, the police officer that was convicted of his murder. Now, on women and misogyny, he's no better. His misogyny covers us all. He went on a bizarre rant directed at Taylor Swift, instructing her to submit to her husband, and he also claimed that men don't want to date women in their 30s because we're not at our prime. On LGBT LGBTQ plus rights, Charlie Kirk has labeled the LGBTQ plus community a cult. He even cited a Bible verse that calls for gay people to be put to death as God's perfect law. He advocates for a nationwide ban on gender-affirming care and calls the transgender identity a lie that hurts people and abuses kids. On Democracy and January 6th, his group, Turning Point USA, was deeply involved in efforts to try and overturn the 2020 election. He bragged about sending 80 buses to Washington, D.C. on January 6th for people to fight for Donald Trump. And then when he was subpoenaed by the House committee investigating the insurrection, he pled the fifth. On Palestine, he denies the very existence of the Palestinian people and their homeland and says outright that Palestinians in Palestine just doesn't exist.
I don't think the place exists.
What?
Because it doesn't. It's called Judea and Samaria. It's not called Palestine.
You don't believe that Palestine have the right to exist?
No, everyone has a right to exist. Show me where it is. It's a non-existent place.
He has routinely championed what Israel's doing in Gaza, a genocide. He's championed it, and he's a friend to Israel. Also rallied against COVID-19 and public health measures to stop the spread of the virus, spread dangerous vaccine information. His organization also said something blatantly false about Jamie Foxx and said that he was paralyzed and blind from a COVID vaccination. On student loan forgiveness, he opposed student loan forgiveness despite his own group, Turning Point USA, taking $350,000 in COVID relief PPP loans that were later forgiven. Charlie was the founder of Turning Point USA. Their tactics include a professor watch list that is designed to intimidate and harass academics, a school board watch list targeting officials who support public health measures or the teaching of accurate history. He also meddles in student government elections to defund progressive groups. On Trump and Christian nationalism, he played a huge role in getting Trump elected. He organized voter drives and events, and he's often credited for delivering the youth vote for Trump. He invokes the Seven Mountains Mandate, a call for conservative Christians to seize control of all aspects of society. He says Donald Trump is a crucial figure in restoring this so-called Christian morality and has even called for a full military occupation of American cities after the DC occupation to restore order. So knowing all of that, how do you think Charlie Kirk will be remembered?
I do not want to hear that Democrats right now calling for gun violence prevention, calling for gun control, are politicizing this issue when there is no principle that Republicans or conservatives stand on that makes them want to see a better world. They just want what they want in any given moment. And it is clear that the only response that they will have to the shooting of Charlie Kirk will be a political one. And that is very clear with what Donald Trump just announced, especially in contrast to a shooting that took place not just 12 weeks ago. Donald Trump just wrote on Truth Social, in honor of Charlie Kirk, a truly great American patriot, I am ordering all American flags throughout the United States lowered till half-mast until Sunday evening at 6 p.m. This tweet is in contrast to what was said about Melissa Hortman in Minnesota, who had her life taken from her, where Donald Trump wrote, I have been briefed on the terrible shooting that took place in Minnesota, which appears to be a targeted attack. Donald Trump continued writing, such horrific violence will not be tolerated in the United States of America. God bless the great people of Minnesota, a truly great place. When a former speaker of the Minnesota State House had her life taken from her by a political extremist, who then Republicans went on to joke about, they made jokes. Donald Trump couldn't even offer up fake thoughts and prayers, say anything about her family, her friends, nothing. But Charlie Kirk, and again, today is a tragedy. Any political violence is a tragedy. But Donald Trump is lowering the flags. Not even a condolence for a former speaker. Why? Because of politics. Because of politics. Donald Trump does not actually care. And what has been done? What everything has been done to stop this from happening. It continues to happen. And so the tears that will be shed by people who I know were friends with Charlie Kirk, were close to Charlie Kirk, loved Charlie Kirk. Yes, I am hurt for them. But I do not think this is a time for Democrats to be forced to condemn gun violence and political violence when nothing has been done by those in power to stop it from happening. Because this is a policy choice. It is the fucking guns. That is clear. And so Jesse Waters and Laura Loomer, Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, they're all going to say that we're at war with each other. And that's what they'll take from this moment. We're at war. Encourage you even more. That's what they want to do. This is a political stunt. Donald Trump's response is a political stunt. And what Donald Trump's response will be in the future, I assume, is more troops on the ground for control. They don't actually care about me, about you, about anything.
Who taught you to humanize men who dehumanize you? The colonizer. Who else? And your typical everyday white person is going to be like, we're not colonizers. We don't colonize anymore. But you do. You colonize people's mindsets. You try to make them forget that someone dehumanized them with their rhetoric and their debates, just so that they can value the human life that you think is the most important. This man would have laughed if it happened to somebody else. How many times has he scoffed at the deaths of black men? His favorite rhetoric was about gang violence, and now those are his famous last words. The same people posting videos about Charlie Kirk's daughters running into his arms are the same people who didn't care that George Floyd had a daughter. Yeah, neither of those men were heroes, but neither of them deserved to die the way they did. Difference is, these same people trying to humanize Charlie Kirk did not want to humanize George Floyd. They'd rather do stuff like this. Photoshop their faces onto his. There are people saying that people on the right don't gloat about the deaths of others. People had no reason to gloat about George Floyd's death, but they did. They absolutely did. They didn't know him from a can of paint. They just saw that he was a black man who might have had a drug problem and a history of doing things that he shouldn't have, doing things that put other people in danger. But they didn't even try to humanize him because he had a daughter. Yet you have a white man who has put other people in danger with his rhetoric, and all of a sudden you can humanize people. Give me a break. This is why Black Lives Matter was a thing, something else that Charlie Kirk scoffed at. Because they don't to y'all, and it's clear. And then you want to fix your mouths to tell us who to have empathy for. No, fuck off. Y'all claim to not be colonizers and then think you have a say in whose life is most valuable and who people should care about and empathize with. You don't have the authority to do either of those things. You claim to not be racist, but you gloat about the deaths of black people. And then when a white man dies who has put black people and other people in danger, you tell us not to gloat. You try to tell us how to feel. I'm not gloating. I'm not saying he deserved it, but you're not going to tell me how to feel about it. You're not going to try to get me to humanize him, because I'm not doing that. I don't care that he had kids and a wife. Don't care. Husbands and fathers die every day. The Republican Party seems to just be full of people who aren't intelligent. Meatheads, people who didn't really get a good education, people who got left behind in school, people who don't read, they just believe whatever they're told, and people who ignore reality. Christians who overlook the most heinous of things just because someone who did said heinous things says they're Christian. People with selective memory who say that Republicans don't gloat about people's death. Think again. Just go on Twitter. Just go on Charlie Kirk's Twitter and anybody else who thinks like Charlie Kirk, and look what they say about people who have died. Look what they said about the Minnesota lawmaker who was assassinated along with her husband. They don't gloat about people's deaths. Are you sure? Because you show up at pride parades to gloat about what you imagine is going to be the future death of us in the LGBTQ community just for existing. You're gloating about future death. Are you kidding? You look forward to death. You look forward to the people who your fable, your fairy tale book demonizes, dying. Are you kidding me? And on the left, you have people like Dean, who people for some reason just flock to, but I read through that man as soon as he opened his mouth. He thinks he's the prince of the DNC. Just because he's educated and white and can talk a good game and debate with people, and because people flock to him to follow him, y'all made him feel like the prince of the DNC. There are no princes. There's no royalty in America. And y'all are surprised, shocked, that he's blubbering and boo-hooing about Charlie Kirk bawling on TikTok Live. You're surprised? No. At the end of the day, white people are white people, and they're gonna value the lives of each other more than everybody else. It's not gonna matter to the majority of white people if they dehumanized people who don't look like them. If that person died, they're to be pitied. You should have empathy for their family. It doesn't matter that that person was a complete piece of shit. Now they can be humanized, even though they wouldn't do the same for you. They wouldn't do the same for you. Even though you're the same race. Because you're on the other side of the political spectrum, they would have laughed. They would have been making memes of your death. And people are making memes of Charlie Kirk's death, and I don't agree with that. I see people posting that in my comments. Don't do that. I'm gonna delete the comment every time, and I'm gonna lose respect for you. Well, I don't even know you, so I don't care. But I'm gonna delete that because it's totally inappropriate. It's crazy. I don't think people dying in such a gruesome way is meme worthy. Absolutely not. We have to decolonize our minds and not hold white people to a high standard when it comes to valuing the life of everybody else. Because time and again, they've shown it doesn't matter which political side you're on. They're going to value white lives over everybody else. Because if you don't mind that someone dehumanized people who don't look like you, and you're willing to humanize them in death when they wouldn't do the same to the rest of us, and you, then you're not our friends. You're not our allies, because you don't care enough. You don't care enough. I wasn't surprised by Dean and whoever else was blubbering about this, but I was surprised by Good Trouble. I think he said something like, this is tragic for all of us. Who's us? It's not tragic for me. Him dying by gun violence is no more detrimental than the gun violence that happened in Colorado the same day. It's no more detrimental. It doesn't have more of a depth of meaning to the country than all the other shootings that have been going on. Did we forget what happened to the lawmakers in Minnesota back in June? What came of that? There hasn't been some kind of civil war after that either. So I don't think the same thing is going to happen with Charlie Kirk. But I don't put it past this government to try to start one by pinning this death on a black man. And let's be honest, this was in Utah. So they would have to really find the black needle in the haystack to blame it on. But they would try to find a black scapegoat to start some kind of race war. I could see that happening. And if they do, I'm not buying it. Don't believe it. If they try to start some kind of race war, y'all need to protect yourselves and don't be out in the streets, like, celebrating or brandishing weapons or whatever. And that's another lesson that I've learned from this. If the person that we actually want to go goes, you can't celebrate in the streets. You can't do it because they're chomping at the bit to commit the violence that they condemn. They will try to fight you and end your life. I know they will. So if and when that happens, celebrate at home in the privacy and comfort and safety of your home. Don't be doing it in the streets. Don't do that because these people's heroes are violent. They worship these men. What do you think they're going to try to do to you if you celebrate their downfall? These people are too stupid to see themselves. They ignore reality. They don't see that they are the most violent ones on this planet. They think they don't gloat about death. Don't put it past them to put you in danger if you celebrate the downfall of the people that they idolize.
All I got from this video. Excuse me. Man, I am sure majority of you may have seen videos fly. Man, really, I don't know how someone is in trouble. You are in problem. You see let's say you see your finances going down, okay? And you are not working. Probably you lost your job, right? And you see your finances going down every day. Why is it going down every day? You have actually saved enough money, but you keep shopping every day, the things you don't actually need. What will happen? The money will just finish, right? Now, this man is saying that he knew that Democrats will start asking for gun violence, that he doesn't want to hear it now. Some people cannot be saved, no matter how you try to save them. And I am leaving them where they are. Let them continue where they are, from where they are. Now, let me say this. The fact that I have been seeing videos upon videos of white people threatening people that look like me for no reason is crazy. Why is it crazy? It is crazy because the man actually that did the whatever that happened to the other man is still at large. He hasn't been seen. Nobody even knows what he looks like. I mean, all these ones are speculations so far. It has not been proven that this is the real person. I don't know if that does make sense, right? So how come they have started throwing in black universities? And the fact that I have also been seeing videos of them warning black people, telling them that they are coming forward, coming forward. See, they are actually about to turn this to a race war. You know what I mean? Race war. Because some people are ignorant. I don't understand how people, I mean, they are also seeing people from their community saying that they don't care about his death. Now, how come it is my people that now are the problem? The footage that has been going around, is it a black person or a person of color? Of course, no. So what is the problem at this point in time? Because it's not making sense to me, sincerely speaking. It is not making any sense. Oh. Now, one thing I know about black people is that most of them are critical thinking. And you could also see that so many people already knew that this might not end well. Because one thing with MAGA, the conservatives, is that they don't reason. You know, they don't think. Tell me how something happened and all of a sudden my people are being blamed. Some of them are even going to the extent of, like, you know, trying to dox people. Please. And I learned that they have started making lists on X of, like, you know, black content creators that they are coming for. Please. All I can say is stay safe. Excuse me. Stay safe out there. Please protect yourself. Because the way, I don't know, you and I remember that political violence is a thing. You remember what happened to Melissa? Also, I am sure you all have been saying the Pe0ple that has been going around. And the same day this man died, that was also a Pe0ple, right? So how come every other person's life does not matter aside from this one person? That is to tell you a whole lot. But one thing I know for sure is that being wicked and being unkind can age you faster than any other thing. This man doesn't look anything 31. And that is because of wickedness. Wickedness on the highest level. So to my people, stay safe out there. Bye for now.